Hi, welcome to Get a Clue Casual Gamer, where we get a clue, C-L-U-E, about a game. And, Mele Kalikimaka, or Merry Christmas, or Feliz Navidad para los que hablan español. So, we are going to look at 8 games that came out this year, 2022, that I suggest as a good game to gift. And I'll tell you a little bit more about them. I made a list of all the 2022 games that were either played by me, owned and played by me, owned and not played by yet, and my wish list of games that came out in 2022. My list has 44 games on it. I'm not going to tell you to buy 44 different games. I have 4 that are on my wish list of 22 games plus the ones that I have played already. So that's really 31 games. 4 of them are way up there on my wish list. So I'm going to mention them at the end of this because they're not on my list of games here because I can't tell you exactly. I'm thinking, let me look real quick. They still fit the criteria for casual level, so we'll talk about them real quick. But I want to give you these 8 suggestions first. There are 4 categories, 2 in each category. So we're going to start off with the large group category, especially if you're going to be with a large group at Christmas time and you want to gift somebody a game, or maybe they have a big family or a lot of friends and they like to get together and stuff. So these are 2 games that came out this year, 2022, that I suggest for the larger groups. I think the easier of them is Sounds Fishy. I talked about it a little bit recently, like last week, I think. But Sounds Fishy plays 4 to 10 players, and it plays in about 30 minutes. It's a bluffing game. If you've ever played something like Balderdash, it's got elements of Balderdash in it without actually being anything exactly like it, but it has some of that. Whoever has the red fish are going to be bluffing. The one who has the blue fish is going to be telling the truth. They will already know everyone knows the real answer. All the red fish people have to come up with a fake answer that sounds real compared to what the real answer is. And that's it. That's the game. It's a very easy, fun party game. And it's my first suggestion for a large group. Now, if you have a group of up to 8 people, and what I like about this one also is it plays up to 8 people, but it also plays solo. And it's Long Shot the Dice Game. Not Long Shot the regular game, Long Shot the Dice Game. And I've done a separate video on this, I'm pretty sure, because I remember saying that. It is a horse race. You're going to have 8 horses running, and depending on the dice, which one will move and how far it will move, and then you get to choose what you're going to do with it. Sounds Fishy might take about 30 minutes to play. This takes about 25-30 minutes to play as well. So it's not, none of these is a lot. Well, you know, there's some that are a little bit longer than others, but half hour is not long. And it comes with all sorts of fun stuff. It comes with really good quality. Actually, all of these have really good quality components. So Long Shot the Dice Game, it's a horse race, and you can make it a little less complicated or a little bit more complicated depending on the horses and such. So Long Shot the Dice Game, It's a great, fun, yet there's a little bit of strategy there. So you can be strategic as well as have fun in a large group. Okay, so the next category is going to be roll and writes. There's piles of roll and writes that come out each year. They have been in their glory for the last 5 or 6 years now, especially. But the two that I've got put aside here, I'm going to start with Get On Board New York London. Get On Board New York and London is a re-implementation of Let's Make a Bus Route, which was only available in Japan and maybe in Asia. The layout was of a Japanese city. So, you know, it's like, but in this case, you have the layouts of New York on one side of the board and London on the other side of the board. If it's 2 to 3 players, you play on the New York side. If it's 4 or 5 players, you play on the London side. And you are really making a bus route through trying to pick up students, pick up other people, drop them off where they want to be dropped off, pass tourist locations, and you get points for all this different stuff. And it really is a light, thinky game. Let's see, give you some information about it. It plays 1 to 4. You can play this one solo as well. 1 to 4. It plays in 30 to 45 minutes. And it is straight in the middle of complexity in the casual level. Well, it's 2/3 through the casual level of gaming. And so Get On Board is a cool, and I was so happy when they finally came out with a Western version that they sold in the West. I would have bought the other one, Let's Make a Bus Route, but they weren't selling it here. Then the other roll and write is Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. This game comes with 4 different dungeon maps. And it's basically a dungeon crawl roll and write. And you're going to roll dice, and depending on what number shows up, to Xing out a route to get to the monsters in this dungeon and to defeat them, to get to the treasure chests that are hidden in some of the rooms. There's all different ways of getting points. And so you want to you want to get to the different places, and you don't want to not have a place where you can go, because you can't X out a number unless it's next to a room that you've already X'd out. And so you're just crawling through the dungeon, and you can start in different areas, and the different maps have different configurations and different monsters, but they all are. I have once I figured out how to play it, I played it with someone, and then I said, okay, let me learn how to do it solo. And I figured it out, and then I had to go and play one of each of the maps. So it's solo. So I mean, it got my interest that much. So it really is, let's see, like I say, it plays 30 to 45 minutes, 1 to 4 players. It's a great game. It's just a great game. I'm telling you, loved it. And it can be, the truth, it says 1 to 4, but really, just as long as everyone has a map, you can make it go further. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is cooperative games. And I have 2 very different cooperative games. The first one is called Kites. It's 2 to 6 players, and it is probably one of the simplest games out of all the ones that I've brought up here. It's everyone's working together. That's one point. It's a cooperative game, but It is a fast-paced game. It's a real-time game. It takes about 10 minutes total. It plays, let me look it up here and make sure I tell you correctly. Plays 2 to 6 players, and it can get kind of frenetic whenever I think it might work better with more than 2. I've played it with 2, and we lost count of whose turn was it because we were so frantic to turn over different sand, whatchamacallit, these. I can't, yeah, hourglasses, whatever, but they're not hours, they're seconds. I think the longest one is 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. I don't know. 45 seconds? I don't know. Each one is a different length of time. And basically, when it's your turn, you put down one of your cards that you have in your hand, and whatever it tells you to, whatever colors are on it, you flip those one or more hourglasses, timers. There you go, sand timers. And then it's the next person's turn, and you're trying to get through all the cards without any of the sand timers running out. So you're constantly trying to flip them in the best order possible, and that's kites. That's what it is. It's real time, and it's quick, and you've got to be quick, or else the sand's going to run out, and everyone loses. Kites, a cooperative game. Totally different from that is Rear Window. Not a lot of people are talking about Rear Window, and I love this game. It is a deduction game. It's you have one person playing the director. Everyone else is an observer. I've talked about it a little bit in a recent video. It plays similar but not exact to, let's see, Mysterium is way up there. There you go. There's Mysterium. It's similar, but I think it's a little easier than Mysterium. And I love the theme because I love that movie. And it really fits the theme so well. Basically, the director is trying to give card clues to the observers so that they figure out who is living in each of 4 apartments and something about them. Occasionally, they might be a murderer, but most of the time, odds are that they're not going to be, that it's going to be a pure cooperative game. If there is a murderer, then there's a twist to it. That's when the director needs them to get at least 6, if not 7, of the items correct, but miss out on the fact that there's a murderer. And that's how the director can win. And if there is a murderer, then the observers, if they figure out that there's a murder, then they win. But most of the time, there's not a murderer, and you're just trying to get them to figure it out. Rear Window plays 3 to 5 players. It plays in about 40 minutes, and it is definitely a great game, and you can get it really for a good price. I think the last time I saw it, it was like for $22.50, and for this quality and the quantity of what's in here, by far, I cannot believe that it's not any more popular right now. It is, I love it, absolutely love it. Okay, so now we're going to go to a category that might sound like, why would I do that? The category is learning. Let me say it, painless learning. If you know anyone who likes these subjects, great. This year, Trekking Through History came out, and it is such a great game. I love it. It plays like a game. You're trying to create a row, a collection, a timeline of cards in consecutive order, getting later in, earlier, not, later in time, closer to our time. Yeah, it's like from the oldest to the newest. That's what your goal is. That's where you can get the points from. But the learning aspect is if you choose, you don't have to, but if you choose, on the back of every single historical event card, on the back is information about that event. Simple as that. It's just there if you want to pay attention to it. I will say that the same company is the one that made Trekking Through National Parks, and then Trekking the National Parks and Trekking the World, which are very similar in that on the reverse of the card, they played totally different. None of them play exactly the same. I think Trekking the National Parks and Trekking the World are the closest when it comes to similarity and play, but Trekking Through History does not play like them. But National Parks and World, again, on the reverse of the cards that are used in the game is information about that specific location. I think that's incredible. But this year they came out with Trekking Through History, and it's beautiful. It's a clean game. It plays well, and it has that learning element in it that you can pay attention to or not. It's up to you. And then another game by that same company is my other learning game for this year, because it just came out this November. Yeah, it just came out in November. It's called Her Story. Now, I will say there is a difference in the game play level of this one compared to the trekking games. The trekking games are a little bit more thinky, still below the 2/3 through casual level. It's still firmly in the casual level. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Trekking Through History plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 60 minutes. Depends on how many players to how long it'll take to play. Her Story, it plays 2 to 5 players. It plays in 30 to 60 minutes. And Board Game Geek has it down as a 1. I don't know who gave it a 1. Please. Old Maid is a 1. This is not a 1, but it is not as complicated as the trekking series. I'm looking at the play, and it really is, you're collecting, the first person to collect 8 of these women's stories. The concept is you're creating a book, and you need 8 stories to complete your book on these famous women in history. And so you're getting their cards through play to create your book of 8. And guess what's on the back of every card? The front is that specific woman, and on the back is some information about her and her accomplishments. I love this concept. And I don't know of any other real game. There was a game that came out, I think, last year that had women as its theme, but it was panned as a bad game. It was just, and so I was so happy to hear about this one, because this one is much better rated, and the gameplay looks like a really decent gameplay. And so Her Story, especially if you have a young woman in your life that could really be uplifted by some of these these historical women, why not? Now, as of right now, because it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but even before that, I mean, all this past week, both of these last 2 learning games both of them had $10 off, different locations. So I would suggest checking them out. If you're going to get them, check them out right away to see if you can get them with that $10 discount. Because they are not the cheapest games. They retail at $50, but their components, they are extremely well made, and they are good games. So that is 8 good, in my opinion, games that came out this year in 2022 that whoever you're gifting to might not have them yet. Especially even if they're a gamer, they might not have them yet. But all excellent games. And oh yes, I was going to tell you about my 4 that are on my wish list that came out this year. They are high. They're the top 4 of my wish list. I mean, I have, I have almost 30 on my wish list that came out this year, not counting the 130 others that are on my wish list that came out in other years. But in this year, the top 4 on my wish list are Turing Machine. And if you're able to get a copy of Turing Machine, I've played it. It is pure deduction. It is at the highest end of casual. It's right on the brink of medium level. So keep that in mind. Turing Machine is an excellent game. It's pure deduction. It can be played solo. It plays 1 to 4 players, but it is on the high end, the highest end of casual that I allow. And my number 2 game is Old London Bridge. Old London Bridge plays 2 to 4 players. It is a worker placement game. And you literally, each person has this cardboard bridge and you're getting buildings to put on your bridge, and depending on which direction you got the buildings from to what other items you can, what other points you can build up. And also the buildings have to be in numerical order ascending. So keep that, yeah, that's basically the game. The other 2 are My Shelfie, which I don't have a lot of information. I didn't put a lot of information, but it's the tile placement type of thing that I like to play. I like, it's like the puzzliness. Where do I put this to get the maximum points in this column, in this shelf, in this location, surrounded by these type of books? It's basically, putting up books on a shelf. So My Shelfie. And then the 4th on my top 4 on my wish list that came out this year is Museum Suspects. And I really couldn't tell you much about it, except that it sounds like it has some of that deduction in it, but a mild case of deduction. Nothing like Turing Machine. And it's cute drawing, cute artwork, and those 4 are my top 4 on my this year 2022 wish list. Like I say, there are so many others: Acropolis, Chai Tea for 2, Downtown Farmers Market, Familiar Tales, Flamecraft, Framework, Next Station London, Paint the Roses, Planet Unknown, Quirky Circuits, Three Sisters, what's some of the others? There's just so many. Yeah, and we can't own them all. It's okay. We don't have to. But so I hope that gives you some ideas about some games to gift or to get. Either way, they're great games. And until next time, happy Christmas, and God bless you and your family. Play some games. Until next time, bye.